To OS2 and eComStation, because actually I'm the owner of eComStation now, and well, I've been working with it myself, of course, all the time. But I'm a businessman, but it's not only business, it's also I worked with OS2 right from the start. I worked for IBM back then. And I like the system, and I still like it, and I still use it every day. Still develop for it and everything. So, and we have been through some difficult times with my company, which has its reflection on eComStation. So, apologies for that, but I'll explain a little bit more what all the things that happened. And, I heard some comments when the title of this presentation is actually, I said, was history and future of eComStation. So in this list is only the future is left. Someone commented that, well, maybe it's going to announce there is no future for eComStation, and I will not, and I hope I can convince you that we want to achieve exactly the opposite. We want to go on, and we see a lot of business and fun for eComStation over the next many years, I hope. So a little bit about me. There are a lot of electrical engineers here in the room. I noticed, but I'm also one. After my studies, I worked for IBM. I was actually first an engineer in their printer manufacturing plant in Amsterdam. The nice thing was that we could buy PCs as test equipment. The IBM PC was just released then, but people working at IBM were not allowed to use such a dangerous device. But we had to use it to test our systems. Then I was redeployed. I did the sales and marketing plans of IBM. It was a nice combination. By then OS2 was available. I used all the versions which were there. And then at a certain point IBM decided that they had too many people working for them in Holland, so they, I think maybe even worldwide. So I got a nice check to if I would leave IBM. So I did, and I decided to start a company based on OS2. The big idea was selling OS2 software and maybe also services. And I had one. It was before the internet, so there was a magazine back then. It's called OS2 magazine. And I had one copy, and there were lots of advertisements in there. So I contacted all these manufacturers and asked them, can I be your distributor for Holland or maybe in Europe or whatever? And they all said yes, and so my business started. I had my very first fair. I printed out actually 4 pieces of paper, a big O, an S, and a slash, and a 2. And it was just after I got started. And I had my first sales there, and I collected the names, etc. I'll tell a little bit more about Blueware, and then after Menso's, I did, this company was called Menso's. After that, I bought many companies, and well, some more about that in the next slides. Because of course, starting out with OS2 was nice, but I never expected to be still selling OS2 software now and even selling OS2 itself. I always thought, well, we will sell it, but it's IBM's job to promote it and support it, etc. Well, things went difficult. So I started on my own. Back then, there was no internet, so all the information we had was sent by fax or taken from bulletin board systems. We had CompuServe then for mail. Of course, I came into contact with Indelible Blue, but they didn't react at all. But I was lucky because there was one girl working for them. Forgot her name. And she was actually German, so she came home for Christmas and she flew via Amsterdam. So we had a meeting on the Schiphol airport in Amsterdam, and on the back of a napkin we decided to do business with them. And it was very profitable for us, and I hope for them also, because we could take all the information from their catalog. I hope you'll remember the catalog from Indelible Blue. And we sent them an order like every week, and then every week UPS or FedEx or whoever would bring out a huge number of boxes, which we would distribute through the Netherlands and the rest of Europe. So it was a very nice setup. We also made our own catalog. We even copied their dog and put that on our catalog. So this was running well. After 2 years, we were having over $1 million in sales, and I was having employees. We worked together with IBM. There was a famous fair in Holland, and we had a booth there. And Part 3 was just announced, and there was a big line for 2 days, and people were ordering it. In the end, we had no boxes left, but we just took their money and. We wrote down and we sent it to them weeks later, but it all worked out. I still remember going to the bank after that fair, and then back then most people were paying cash. So and IBM arranged for one of these tough guys with big cars to take the cash. But at the bank they had just these like big plastic bags stuffed with money. Panic. Because usually there was a nice telly with it or whatever. So here's some, I just wrote down some products which we sold a lot of course all the wax products. Waxworks was very popular. The book Warp Unleashed, I think we sold several thousand of them. All the IBM products, we were an IBM reseller then, so we could buy directly from IBM. All kinds of utilities. And of course, 1996 Warp 4 was an important moment for us. But back then already you could feel that this was the last OS2 that IBM would ever come up with. I think part of our success was that we used the tools which we also sold, so we're still using the Menso information system, which is based on DB2 and a lot of REX code and GPF REX. And we made our own online shopping system based on net data, which was also an IBM product, which is, I think, now extinct, but we're still using it. I thought Describe was also one of these products we sold well, and I still use it. We also, well, it was not a separate company, but we established this trade name called Blueware, where we had resellers for OS2 software all over Europe and later even outside of Europe. And of course, we still resell eComStation out to some of these resellers. I looked at the Barbstock history on the Barbstock website, and it's still some point is missing there, because actually back then IBM was still doing OS2 conferences. I became an OS2 engineer on one of these. And I was discussing with some German guy, should be, that it was so boring. I said, well, but why don't we have an OS2 conferences where it is fun to go to, we have music and we have beer, etc. And And then we invented the name warp stock, and I discussed this with Felix Cruz, and I would say I just discussed it with him, and he actually picked it up, so that's right on the warp stock side. And then warp stock USA was started, and later in Europe. And so I'm very honored that we still have warp stock, and that we can speak here all these years later. So then from OS2 to eComStation, I must say, much to our surprise, Serenity Systems was allowed to sell, to buy OS2, what's called OEM, or original equipment manufacturer licenses from IBM, and they were allowed to add their own stuff to that, and they were not allowed to call it OS2, so then they came up with the name eComStation. And there was a guy named Kim working for Serenity. But more and more the development was done by several people working for Menso. And we were of course also then their distributor for Europe. And of course there were many other developers and people sitting here helping us. Back then OS2 was purchased by Serenity because if we sell an eComStation license, if it's not an upgrade, then of course we have to include OS2, an OS2 license, which you have to buy from IBM. So at a certain moment I could switch to buying directly from IBM in Europe. And actually it was a little help from Microsoft, because back then if you had OS2 licenses you were allowed to buy Windows at a lower price than normal. So some German guy called me and said, did you sell OS2 licenses? Because at a certain point was allowed to even do that from Linux licenses, which he could buy for like $1 each or so. So I said, how many licenses do you need? He mentioned that he needed 10, 20, 30,000 licenses or so. I said, what price are you going to pay? The price he mentioned was so low. I said, well, I don't think I can do that, but I called IBM and they offered me an even lower price, so that was nice. So that helped us to, of course, to buy OEM licenses at a lower price than we ever expected. We also even got from the Dutch government, we got a nice subsidy where because we were doing the S stands for Spurwerk, and ontwikkeling, it stands for research and development, because we were doing research and development on quite unique products, of course. And we also, of course, saw a market for a replacement for OS2, because there's our friend there in the back who's still using OS2, and we were under the impression that there must be many more companies using it, and individuals. And that turned out to be true, but I must say it's a very long sales cycle, especially with large companies. We had a very nice order this year, but if I look back at the history, you can see that that company, which is a big bank somewhere, they started out getting an implementation version 6 years ago, and then another one 3 years ago, and then the negotiation of the contract took another 12 months or so before they finally sent in their purchase order. So it makes me think there must be still more companies out there. Going back to eComStation, so the first preview was in 2000, and then we went through a lot of revisions, especially of 2.0, and And in this time frame, the involvement of Serenity Systems was going down. They were, first of all, of course, they were boarded for the OS2 licenses. And at this point, we were just paying them for each license we sold a certain fee, because of course they had the name and they invented the product more or less. But in 2009, I decided to do an offer or to start negotiations on buying the name of the website, etc. So from that point on, Menso was the exclusive owner of eComStation. And at that time, we had some very nice customers who were buying lots of licenses. So that helped, of course, also in the development, and things speeded up. Then in 2012, that suddenly we had several problems at Menso, including at the sales of eComStations. We had one very big customer who said, well, we'll keep on ordering for many more years, and they suddenly orders went to zero. And apart from that, in Holland, it's very hard, and if you get hit by, let's say, turnover problems, to scale down your costs. You cannot just say to your people who work for you, hey guys, sorry, this is going bad. So it's a long process. So things are not looking good. So at that point, we decided to start another company, and maybe you've heard of the name XEU.com, and they took over certain parts of Menso, including eComStation. They also took over a product which is used by many companies. In Europe, there are some changes in the banking industry. There are some new standards, and Menso was, apart from eComStation, we also owned a product which helps companies to to pay money in batches, or to collect money in batches. And because of the new standards in Europe, there was a big opportunity, and so we found a guy who wrote a new program for us, and we were very successful in that. But it was nice, kept us busy also. The problem is, this guy, when he looked at eComStation, and he thought, well, okay, I can do that also. Well, I see him grinning, because that didn't work out very well. So in this time we were not doing very well on the development of new stuff for eComStation. But it didn't mean we stopped completely. We just did not the right things. 2014 now, I talked already to you about it. We had a very nice big order, which of course helps us to look forward in a very positive way again. Joachim Benjamins is still working for us. He now is employed by XEU.com, and he's again fully in charge of eComStation. First of all, he's related to me, and second of all, I think he works for Menso now for 20 years, and he knows a lot about OS2 and eComStation. So he's happy to be back. We might put eComStation in a separate company next year, but we'll know more about that. Most of you will know Roderick. He did not agree with all the changes or everything that was happening. He thought it was time for a new challenge, so he left Menso. He, of course, was very important in keep in contact with all the developers. He did a very good job at that. He was not always that organized. Sorry, Roderick, if you listen to that. But he did a great job, and we miss him. But I think we can continue with eComStation now. So Joachim was tied up, Roderick left. We had not enough contact with the developers, the community. These new developers we had, they tried to do stuff for eComStation, but they didn't succeed. Then earlier this year I started talking to several of the developers in the hope to get them started again, which was not very successful. So the 2.2 version was further delayed. But now we have Joachim back again as development manager for eComStation. We sold parts of Mensis, and we were down now. We're down now to only 2 employees. I think I had 20 3 years ago. I've taken up sales and product management. Because of the sales, we have funds for sales, marketing, maintenance. I'm not the only shareholder anymore, but the other shareholders are keen to invest in OS2 and eComStation. They see the market and they think it's an interesting market. I was supposed to meet with Louis from Marka, Norway. I hope I pronounce it right. But of course he ran into some family health issues, and so we didn't sign the agreement yet. The current idea is that we'll work together with him and see if we can come to a model where we work together and develop new versions of eComStations and new features, etc. And I think that's very good news. If we succeed that, I will talk to Steve about this later on this conference.
So is the idea that company's going to be the developers, or what? Like why a new company?
Well, let's say I did not found that company, but the way eComStation development has been going on for years was that Roderick was coordinating this, and then he came to me and said, I need so many euros or dollars, and I will pay that to that developer, and he will develop such and such project. So it was working, but it was not very well organized. I think if we can set it up more professionally, we can get a better product.
Yeah, right.
So that's where we can come to. So we're running a bit short of time because we started late, but this is in connection with your question. We're still not sure how we will manage development. As I told you, we expect for at least 10 years to continue to have eComStation business. But the strange thing is we get feedback from guys like you who are involved and who are working on the eComStation, but our largest customers who sometimes have nice orders, they don't give us any feedback. They just, maybe they complain if something is not working, but they don't tell us we want this and this 2 or 3 years time. So that's a challenge to find out. On the other hand, the big bank which we just had an order for, we expect them to be using OS2 for another 5 years or so, and they will pay a nice fee each year for maintenance. But actually, it's just running, and all they want is reassurance that it keeps running, and that if there is a problem, that they can call someone, which will help them. And they also asked a quote from IBM, and I think IBM was 10 times more expensive than we are. So IBM is not interested in customers who are still using OS2. So there might be more of these companies coming up next year. So we had a company in Brazil who was talking about a lot of licenses. I think they were still using them in ATMs. And just before I flew in, I got in saw in a mail order from a company in France who runs machines which print out credit cards. So they bought 100 licenses, also with maintenance, also with the expectation that the maintenance will last for a number of years. And also there's a bit of tension there, of course, that let's say private users, really enthusiastic people, they want new features, new stuff all the time. But the companies like that, they just want to, that what runs keeps running, and they don't want anything changed at all. So there's always a bit of friction. But I think we can achieve both. We can make eComStation more interesting and still deliver a product which runs the old applications and as stable as OS2 used to do that. We are using OS2 ourselves a lot, and we still have some OS2 servers running, and I would say they had a bit of a hiccup a few years ago. Steve fixed that, and since then they're just running, and you don't have to look at them anymore. They just go on and on. But let's have this discussion maybe later. Maybe when Steve is presenting, we can tell more about what we can do and what the possibilities are. Come to me if you want more info.
So are most of your business, is it with companies that, like you described? Are there very many individual purchasers of this?
Most of our business is large companies, yeah.
And do they actually buy copies and install newer versions, or do they just want assurance that their older versions will continue to work? Or what's the mix of business?
Usually if they buy it, they want eComStation.
They want to upgrade.
They sometimes need some help to get eComStation running on their particular kind of hardware that they have. They have to move from OS2 usually to eComStation because their hardware is just you have a pile of old hardware which they can still fix, but at one point all the hard disks are gone, or the network cards, or the main boards are running out, or whatever.
And how many licenses do you have? Can you say that, or like 1 million, 5 million, 100,000?
What did we sell over the years?
Well, yeah. How about that number? What about that?
I don't know, but maybe like 30,000, 40,000 licenses.
I see.
So,
And then ongoing. You also have ongoing support licenses.
Yeah, we have several companies who pay each year for their support. There was a question on OS2 World about people who bought software subscription in, let's say, the past 12, 18 months. Of course, we did not deliver much updates, so I can say, I think we did it once before when everybody was waiting for a new eComStation release, and we said, well, we'll extend for free the software subscription until we can finally release a new version. So I can announce now we'll do the same thing. Everybody who has software subscription will keep that valid until 2.2 is released. I think we owe that to the community, and otherwise we would be just taking people's money and getting them nothing in return. Of course, this is different for large companies because they pay mostly, so they can call us and we can fix stuff for them.
And are these big companies mostly banks, or what kind of companies buy this?
Well, as explained to you, it's banks, but also a lot of manufacturing companies. Because OS2 is very good in real-time stuff, and they have engineers who still know how to use it. So there's a company who makes machinery for printed circuit boards, and Siemens is a big customer, and but they won't even tell us where they use it in. I think it's systems for solar energy or systems for air conditioning units.
So this is mostly for like assembly line stuff, as opposed to like office.
Well, I mean, bank we're talking about is using it for office applications. Actually, people with laptops who go around and take mortgage applications and so. They have an application, and well, they also asked IBM quotes or some other companies what it would cost to port this application. That was even more expensive. Yeah, of course.
Any big American, I mean, can you say what companies they are, like American companies that have this?
Well, on our website it's a list. Also, companies who are into manufacturing a lot. But also the Pennsylvania Highway company. Also, there's a.
I think it's fair to say it's more than you would expect.
Yeah. So
and it's a mix.
also.
See, that's the thing. There's a lot of them that have large, what we call line of business applications. And basically, they just need a computer that'll run OS2. And for those folks, they really don't care whether it's virtual or not. Then the industrial applications, they're typically connecting to specialized hardware. And they do care. They actually need to run on raw hardware because it's too hard to get the virtual to integrate to that hardware.
There's a question in the chat about what can we expect from Menso in the announcement on the near future of eComStation. There is anything that's coming next.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there was a presentation from. This. Okay. Well, this is a bit where we left off last year at Webstock Europe. This presentation from Roderick back then. I'll show you these sheets, but not give much comment on them. This is not my presentation, but these are the things we will continue working on now. So all these elements we will put into 2.2.
Where in all of this does turning off the screen backlighting? I saw ACPI there, where it reminded me of the question. My computer was 2.2 with ECS 2.2 on it. It just sits there with the backlight on forever.
That's how you configured it.
I'm not the one to answer.
We'll take care of that. We should take care of that later. Point is, OS2 is very flexible, always has been. And defaults may not be the defaults you want.
Yeah. Well, I don't know a place to set it, so I'll let you tell me about that.
There's another question. What happened with Snap?
I haven't been working. I just came in and not working tomorrow.
That means it's not the right way. Keep developing that right. People are asking about Snap.
Yeah. I have no idea about that. We have source code from yeah, we sometimes get source code or acquire source code, but I'm not sure what will happen when that will appear in the product. But right now Joachim is working on putting together 2.2, and I'm discussing with Noe the extent to which we will work together, and that they will help us to bring us that product. Where snaps fit in, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, so this was the quick presentation from Roderick from last year. Again, I must admit, after that, not much happens, but we will start making it happen again. So that's the promise I will give you here, and more details to come out later. Okay, if there are more questions, I would say I'm here the whole weekend. I fly back to Holland on Sunday afternoon, so find me and let me know. And thank you for your attention.